Today, Sage Wisdom Community presents Patricia Selmo. Patricia is the founder of Wisdom Awakener, where she helps sacred change makers remember who they truly are and return to their own inner authority. Her path has been anything but ordinary. Patricia began her professional life as an aerospace engineer, working on the space shuttle, and her journey has since woven through psychology, business ownership, IT leadership, coaching, interfaith ministry, and decades of metaphysical study and practice. Today, she brings all of that together as a transformational mentor and soul guide, blending grounded coaching, psychology, intuitive wisdom, and metaphysical practices to support people who have outgrown the old ways of performing, proving, and fitting in. Patricia, we are so excited to have you here today. Hooray! I'm really looking forward to hearing everything you have to share with us.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited as well. Those of you who have followed me in the past and know me probably have seen that I noticed today I had not posted in Facebook since sometime in December. I have not sent emails to my list. I have not made offers. I have done nothing. And I think I have finally gotten the urge to start coming out again. And I think it's a perfect example of what I'm going to talk about today when we are going through some sort of a transition in our lives, which happen maybe more often than we'd like, and sometimes on purpose and sometimes not. So, hopefully, if you get one little bit of wisdom from this, then I will feel like I have done my part. And yeah, so it's a little bit new for me too, kind of coming back out into the world. Uh, so we're all human, and just let's just play in the puddles, right? The mud puddles and get
Well,
dirty
we're
together.
really, yeah,
Uh,
really excited that you've chosen us to come out with and,
yeah,
have some fun. So thank you.
yeah. So I have notes. I wanted to be sure I didn't forget anything, but we can be flexible as well. Feel free, if you don't understand something or you have a question about something, you can stop. And I don't know, Christy, do you like having the chat going,
Yeah,
or
absolutely. You guys are
you
welcome
guys
to
can put
chat
stuff in
and
the
I can,
chat?
yeah,
Um, and so on. So we'll see where we end up. I know where we're starting and I don't know where we're ending up. So that is a perfect segue into
that
what I
sounds
wanted to
perfect.
say today. And that is that with almost every woman that I work with, I realize that there is a difference between being stuck and being at a threshold. Being stuck, the two can really feel like the same when you're in it, because like nothing's happening. I'm stuck. I don't know what direction to go in. And so it can feel like that, right? But these two things, while they might feel identical on the inside, they are not the same thing at all. Stuck implies something's broken, something's not working right, you're doing something wrong. But a threshold is different. A threshold is that kind of disorienting space where one identity is ending before the next one has fully arrived. And so you're not lost. You're in the hallway. You're between rooms, right? And that in between space is confusing by nature, right? It's not because something's wrong with you. It's because you are in transition. And we don't ever learn, we don't ever get taught how to be in mid transition gracefully, right? We might be there kicking and screaming or crying or, whatever, but that might be part of it too, and that's okay. So, an example for me is when I was no longer an engineer. So I got laid off basically. I was working on the space shuttle, and there were mass layoffs happening. A lot of our work was going to the Russian space agency. And so our whole department, that piece of work went to them. So we all got laid off. And I did not know what was next at all. Um, I knew I did not want to be an engineer anymore. That was the only thing I really knew, that this was not where I was meant to be anymore. And yeah, and so what I did next, basically, I completed a master's I had been working on in behavioral science, and I began learning every esoteric metaphysical modality I could get my hands on, not knowing at all where it would lead. Right. The one thing I didn't do is go in search of another engineering job. I got other little part time jobs. I found other things, but that was not what I did. And believe me, that was harder than you think because every time I showed my resume to somebody, they'd go, "But you're an aerospace engineer." And I'm like, but I don't want to be. You know, they just wouldn't, you're overqualified or, whatever. It's like, but I don't want to do it. Anyway, so I know a little something about walking through thresholds that might make no logical sense to people on the outside, even to yourself, maybe, right? Um, I spent years working on, as an aerospace engineer, working on the space shuttle, and if you had told that version of me that one day I'd be running a metaphysical coaching practice, teaching astrology, guiding women through soul level reinvention, I wouldn't have believed you. I probably wouldn't have even known what you were talking about. What is that? so, but what I've come to understand is that none of that was wasted, right? The engineering wasn't wasted, technical writing that I did, not any of it. Every chapter that I've been through taught me something I needed for where I am right now. And I share that because I want you to trust that the same is true for you and that nothing you've lived is wasted. It's all like raw material that you can use to pull something else together, to piece it together, maybe in a different way. So so today I'm going to give you the framework. It's kind of a high level framework that I tend to use with my clients, not necessarily for how to change your life or because I don't really think that's what's happening. Like, I mean, it looks maybe on the outside like we're changing our life, but I think what's happening is something quieter and um, more powerful than the word change can make it. And I think it's even transformation. I mean, I use both those words, so I'm not, dissing them, but I think it's something more than that. It's really about remembering. It's a remembrance of who you are. So, you'll hear people say, myself included, I'll help you to change. What I actually believe is that you don't need to become someone new or change how you do things or what you do. You need to remember who you were before everyone else told you who you were, how to be, what to do, what to think, how to act, um, who to become. And from that place of remembrance, then meaningful change stops being a struggle. It becomes inevitable, really. Um, and so that's what these four pillars are about. And the first one is remember yourself. And the question that I'm posing right now is who were you before everyone told you who to become? And I will tell you, this is a question you can think about right now, and you can think about every day. You can think about a year from now. There will always be layers, right? There will always be things that are kind of coming up for you as you progress through this. So, this is a great question to kind of check in with periodically. But we're looking at before the roles, right? Before you're the mother, you're the daughter, you're the, engineer, you're the, whatever it is you are. Before that, before the responsibilities, before you became capable, right? The one who everybody counts on, or the one who holds it together, which many of us women tend to be, right? Um, the one who has it figured out. There is yeah, like the women that show up in my world, you might recognize this woman. She's smart, she's sophisticated, she's accomplished in whatever way that might be. She's reliable, the reliable one, right? The high achiever, the person other people lean on. And somewhere in that process of becoming so capable, she lost track of that quieter voice that's underneath it all. The voice that knows exactly what she wanted before she learned to what was expected of her, right? So, I'm not saying, go back to your 22-year-old self, unburdened, kind of a thing that's not realistic. But I'm asking something a little more specific, and that is underneath the achievement and underneath the roles that you've mastered, the masks you've learned to put on. Um, what did you love before you learned to be practical about it? What did you know about yourself before the world started giving you feedback about who you should be? For me, that spiritual part of me, I felt I had to hide, especially as an engineer. I was a single mom. I didn't want to lose my job because of my thought, whatever they would think about that. Um, and from my astrological chart, which is something I use in my work a lot, with astrology, but from my chart, it's very clear I have these two parts. I have this very practical, logical piece, and I have this very spiritual, emotional piece. And that combination helps me to bring these woo woo things down to earth and to help my clients use them as practical tools in their growth. So basically, remembering yourself isn't a one-time event. And oh, I remember who I am now. It's an unveiling and unlayering. It's a practice, right? You can do it through astrology. You can do it through journaling. You can do it through meditating. You can do it just from lived experience. Like, oh, that did not feel comfortable to me, right? Um, Sitting in silence long enough that you're not just hearing your grocery list in your head, you know. Um, but it basically starts with that question and that willingness to ask the question. Pillar two, this is the core. Like this could be the whole thing, honestly, and that is trust yourself. So as that unlayering happens, as you start coming into contact with who you truly are, um, this is where I think a lot of so-called capable women, high achieving women, really any woman, any person can get stuck. Um, and that is really to listen, learn to hear your voice, your wisdom above the noise, right? Your inner knowing. Learn to hear that above the external, the noise, the messaging. I see this all the time where capable, competent women, um, it's almost like the more praise she receives for her achievements, her accomplishments, the more disconnected she often becomes from her own inner authority. And it's funny because it's like we reward that capability, but it has a hidden cost sometimes because it teaches you to override your own instincts in favor of what looks correct or responsible or impressive or just what other people are saying is the way it is, right? So is anybody not relating to this? I mean, maybe it's possible. And then you're kind of lucky, I think, because um, we grow up, we spend years hearing almost immediately. First of all, we have our parents, right? And as well-meaning as they might be, they have certain ways, certain beliefs, certain things they want you to be. Mine did not want me to be, a witch woman living in the woods. They wanted me to be something that you can make money at, right? So engineering came up because I was good at math and science. So there it is, and so or if you grew up in some sort of spiritual community or church, like you get the messaging from that, right? You go to work and you get messaging from how you're supposed to be there, and you know just the society and television and just so many things that help, that we think we need that mask on, or that we need to put that layer on in order to fit in order to succeed, be okay, and be able to pay bills, basically, right? And so the thing about it is, though, that achievement based on these layers that we've put on ourselves and authenticity clearly are not the same thing then. And so sometimes we spend so much time excelling at the fitting in and the doing well and the succeeding that we lose touch with the other part, the authenticity of who we truly are. And so when I say trust yourself, I don't mean, this kind of vague inspirational thing. I really am talking about, like, can you hear your intuition? Can you hear your inner knowing when it disagrees with something going on in the outer world? Can you feel a no in your body before your mind has built a rational case around it? Can you feel a yes in your body before your mind builds a rational case around it? Can you make a decision because it's true in your heart, in your knowingness, and not just because it's defensible and you can explain it? So the rebuilding that trust, it doesn't happen through more information, much as I would like it to. I'm an information gatherer, information hoarder. There's always another class to take. There's always another certification to get, another expert to listen to, another 5-year plan. Another whatever formula. You name it. I see you all smiling, so I think you might have knowing what I'm talking about. Um, what you really need is the practice to listen to your own, the wisdom you already have, right? And the evidence that you get when you do that, when you make it a practice and slowly, decision by decision, start trusting your own inner authority. And that builds that trust muscle. Um, an example I have is I was living in Houston at one point of my life. I was kind of between jobs and I was not really happy. My daughter and my son-in-law were in Austin. I mean, not terribly far, but by Texas standards anyway. um, but I just wasn't happy. And one day it came in like the bolt of lightning and I just heard, you need to be in Austin. And I'm like, okay. So I trusted it. And within days, I had a job in Austin, I had an apartment, and a little bit of day or two after that, my daughter calls me to tell me I'm about to be a grandmother. So I always tell people I moved to Austin because my daughter was pregnant, which is true. I just didn't know it, in this 3D world at the time that I made that decision and followed that hit, right, that I needed to be there. But when I made that decision and I listened, it it just opened up. There was a job, there was an apartment, there like it just bloop, 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 happened, and I don't think I could have planned it that way. So it's a muscle, right? It's not just a switch. Every time you kind of honor that quiet knowing instead of poo-pooing it, that trust muscle, trust in yourself, trust in your intuition gets a little bit stronger. The next thing is the pillar 3, create an aligned path. This is the guided action we hear about right now. This is why 1 and 2 are so important. Like we could probably end right there, and I won't even spend a lot of time on the next 2, because really the core is the remembering yourself and then trusting your intuition from that, because then everything else can truly unfold. But what happens next usually is maybe a decision comes before you trust your intuition and you start, okay, now what? Well, now you do the next step. Now we're like boots on the ground, right? Things actually have to happen, not just, sit there and decide and it appears, right? We all know that. We have to take some action. And so that's how we make the dream an actual reality. And and so this is really just about making sure that the steps you take, and you might not see the whole plan, right? I mean, I'm using the word plan here, but much like my Austin example, I didn't really have a plan. I had made a decision though, right? And I put a line in the sand, pin in it, whatever. And from that point, the things started happening. And I trusted, I had to make a decision about a job, and I went with, how I felt about it, and so on. So they start kind of happening because you've made that decision. Um, so every an aligned path is going to look different for, and this could be for anything, right? It could be a creative project you've been wanting to do. It could be a business within your business, or a business decision. It could be a relocation like mine was, or a relationship thing. So the specifics don't matter. What does matter, what does matter is that alignment, being in alignment with your true self, requires you to act from what you know to be true, right? That trusting your inner guidance, even before it's comfortable, which leads me to the last pillar, and that is walk through the resistance, because it is inevitable that the minute we make a decision and start heading into that direction, what happens? Self sabotage, fear, the resistance rears its ugly head. And so I believe that every meaningful transformation asks something of us. And I want to normalize this because I think a lot of women interpret resistance as, oh, it's a sign. It's a sign I'm not supposed to be doing this. And we stop. And it's usually the opposite. If you've done the other steps, right? If you've truly made this decision in your alignment with your inner knowing, um, it's the opposite. Resistance tends to show up precisely because something real is happening. And that old identity does not die easily. It pushes back. Fear shows up, doubt shows up. The people around you might not understand what you're doing and why, or they see that you're changing and it might affect how they relate with you, and then their fear pops up, and then that can become your resistance as well because of the people around you. And so again, this is the threshold. We meet again, right? It's the discomfort of being between who you were and who you're becoming. And so it's not a sign to turn back. It's usually a sign that you are exactly where the real stuff is going to happen. Um, just a quick, as some of you know, I'm in Portugal. I live in Portugal right now. I've been here 4 years, and I moved from Texas with my family. But that was definitely, if you want to talk about resistance, and if any of you have done something like that and moved to another country, immigration rules, visa applications, where do I go? How do I pack? How do I ship my stuff? What do I pack? What do I bring? What do I leave? Like, I mean, it is an exercise in, did I really want to do this? Am I really doing the right thing? Like, if you want to talk about resistance, um, definitely all these things pop up. And at one point, my daughter said, I think we should wait till next year. And I'm like, no, we're doing this. We're going to keep going. so, so we did. So the point being, you don't need to walk through that resistance without fear. We're going to have fear, right? You just need to walk through it. You can do it slowly. You can do it imperfectly. You can do it messily, but you're just taking one step at a time and making that intuitive hit, that dream that you know from your inner knowing is where what needs to happen. So in summary, basically, remember yourself, trust yourself, create an aligned path, and walk through the resistance. So what I'd like to leave you with is that I don't think you need to search outside yourself for the answers that you're looking for. I think you already carry them. That's the bottom line. In my work, I help people to do that. I also bring in tools because sometimes those external tools can kind of help. So I use things like astrology. I use Akashic records and reading those, the coaching, but they're all just tools and instruments. They aren't the point, right? The point is helping you to remember who you are beneath the roles, beneath the expectations that you've accumulated, and basically so that you can trust yourself enough to build a life from that place. You're not stuck, you're at a threshold, and thresholds are where everything begins. And with that, keep your Keep shining your brilliance. That's how I sign all my emails. I almost forgot. Keep shining your brilliance. Yeah.
Patricia, thank you. This is just amazing. It's one of those situations where, like, yes, I know that, and yet to hear it again, it's so powerful and it just triggers so many things. And I really appreciate you bringing your brilliance and your wisdom and your experience because I think that this can help so many people. I think so many of us hit that threshold, and like you said, we find it as a sign to like back off as opposed to push through. And I think your steps are brilliant and simple, simple. They take practice. But I mean,
Yeah. Simple, but maybe not easy all the time.
yes, exactly. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, exactly. So I really appreciate that. And I would love if you could share some of the ways that people could find you, work with you, like how can we connect more?
Yeah. So you can go to my website, which is wisdomawakener.com. Um, I will be finding the links for Christy to post, but I have a little freebie that you can get about creating your own sacred space. And with that, you would get added to my email list. But the email list is probably the best way to be the first to know about upcoming offers. I also offer a lot of discounts to my list. If I know your birth month, I you get some like usually 20% off for that month on anything. So that's kind of a good way to kind of get in and always be in the know. Some of the things I'm offering right now, I have a online version of a course I did live 2 years ago called Your Sacred Sky: Embodied Astrology for Transformation, and it goes through your personal chart. So you get to learn a little astrology, but you're doing it more from the from your chart and what we go through a planet for each module. So there's 12 modules, and how that planet, like where is your Mercury, right? And so what does that actually mean for you? And each planet has activities, and we do altar building and create ritual and stuff for each one. So it's just kind of a fun walk through all the planets, but from the perspective of your personal chart. And I can put a link. I can send you the link for that. It's 400, but if you get on the email list, then you get a discount too. So, and then I offer what I call my soul wisdom guidance sessions. And these are new because I used to do, and I still can do things separately, like an astrology reading, an Akashic record reading, that. But I'm now really trying to just combine them all into these sessions. And so they're very intuitive. I work with the client to find out which tools are going to be best for whatever it is they're working on. And so it could be any combination of all those things that I use. So, but the point being that along the way, you're tapping more into your own intuition and you're getting to the whatever transformation it is you're in the process of attempting to make, whichever hallway you're trying to get out of. So,
That's
um,
brilliant.
yeah, so I will. I like to sell those in a bundle because it usually just takes a few to kind of move through that transition. So
Hmm.
I can sell it in a bundle of three, but I also offer just one, so you can try it out. And then if you like it, I can still give you the deal for like two more, right? Like as though you bought the bundle, if that makes sense.
Well, that's wonderful. Thank you
Uh,
so much,
yeah.
Patricia. I
So,
really am so happy that you're here with us today, and this recording will be on YouTube if anyone wants to go find it again. But for now, I'm going to sign off from Sage Wisdom Community Presents. Thank you all so very much for being here.